Okay, we're going on YouTube. Waiting for Facebook to catch up. Hang on, folks, just a moment. I was just getting ready to post a TikTok about the live update. Hang on, let me get my screen set up here one more time, and then we will be underway. Wasn't planning on going live tonight, but you guys requested it, so I decided, you know what, let's make some time, and we're going to talk about the upcoming coastal flooding threat. And I have a new trial plugin shown here as well. If you guys look in the lower right corner, we now have a link and an updated server to show us whenever people donate on Ko-fi. Again, ko-fi.com/Puget Sound Stormwatch, as seen in the lower right corner. So whenever you guys send in donations, it should show a little pop-up whenever a person donates with your name. So just wait for some other people to hop in here real quick. I'm going to get this TikTok posted, and then we'll be beginning our live coverage here very shortly. Thank you guys for your patience. Again, for anyone just joining, Anthony here, Puget Sound Stormwatch. Good evening to everyone. Hopefully everyone's having a wonderful day so far. Hello, welcome in everyone. Welcome in Keith, welcome in Willow. Let me just get this posted to my TikTok real quick. Trying to type this as fast as possible so we don't take up too much time. Yeah, anyways, parts of the Puget Sound region are in a coastal flood advisory in effect from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. tomorrow. And this is actually for 5 different zones. So there's 5 different alerts here for both, or for advisories, watches, and warnings, all related to coastal flooding. So we'll go over those all here in just a moment, because there's a lot of different areas and times that we need to cover here. Live as of 5 p.m. tonight to discuss some coastal flooding concerns around the Puget Sound and the coast. For Saturday, 1326. Come join me on Facebook or YouTube at Puget Sound Stormwatch. Keith says, been looking at the models. Yeah, now is the time. I really, really wish I had Weather Bell. Still wish I had Weather Bell. You know, Pivotal Weather, as stripped down as it is, just doesn't really cut it that much. Because it doesn't have access to all of the tidal information as well like Weather Bell does. Hey there, Dash of Ash 1337. Hello. Make sure I use some good hashtags. Alright, let's see if I get flamed for some reason here on TikTok. Because I swear people will always find something to flame me on TikTok. And ever since my first 2 days, Michael Snyder's following me. That's awesome. That's great news, Keith. Michael Snyder used to follow me on X, but then once he left X for Blue Sky, he unfollowed a lot of people, and then he came back to X and never followed a lot of people. So Michael was following me for a little bit. He no longer does, but no biggie. Any possibility of tone coastal flood warnings? I think it follows the short fuse rule as well. So if the alert goes into effect within 3 hours or less of the issuance time, then they would tone it out on NOAA weather radio. Believe it's got to be 3 hours or less. So the chance of that happening is unlikely. Yeah, geez, ever since like that first 3 days on TikTok, it has been bombing. Like the algorithm has just not played out in my favor. I think I've gained probably 20 followers in the last like week or so. That's about it. Okay, but anyways, first things first, taking a look at one of our systems here. You can see several different defined low pressure centers and one well-defined occlusion here. See, if we turn on the isobars of pressure, there's a well-defined low-pressure system off the coast here. And then another little meso low on the south side of it. Now, the new expectation as of today's model runs is that instead of these revolving around one another and one being flung at us, they're actually going to split and one moves to the north, one to the south. And this would mitigate any big wind concerns. Let me tell you what I mean here. This is the current 18Z European model. Let me show you the downtrend in the last few model runs here. So we had a lot of areas over 30 miles per hour for gusts in the 0Z. And then the 6Z went down to about 20 to 30 miles per hour. 12Z trended back up, but then the 18Z trended way down. And now pretty much everywhere except for some areas along the Strait of Juan de Fuca are expected to have wind gusts at or below 30 miles per hour on Sunday morning. Again, not tomorrow, but Sunday morning. This would be between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. on Sunday. Yeah, I believe same thing as high wind warnings. I don't know exact criteria for alert issuances, but I believe it's the same for pretty much everything. It may be different, though, because there's no coastal flood watch in effect for the Puget Sound. So if there were to be a sudden coastal flood warning issued, I think that would negate the limitations of the alert issuance. Even if it's more than 3 hours between the issuance time of the alert and the effective time of the alert. Another dud, this is like Christmas Eve again, started off promising. The big difference here is really, we didn't have any model runs showing like 70 mile per hour gusts. I think the highest we got originally was the Euro showing some 50 plus mile per hour gusts. But then it had a gradual downtrend. So the real difference here is that the high-res models are agreeing with the European at this time frame right now. They're not really going their own ways. Even the NAM's kind of siding towards the European here. But the European started its downtrend much later than previous too. Let's make sure I have the right day here. Yeah, so this would be Sunday around 4 a.m. See, big downtrend in the NAM too. Even though the NAM's kind of a laughing stock at the moment. Even the NAM has a lot of areas below 35 miles per hour, but you could see some isolated gusts of 40 miles per hour out of the south in some of the darker purple shades that you see, like over Whidbey, for example, maybe the central Puget Sound. But no guarantees on that. Her 0Z is running right now, but I'll show you the 18Z data. And the 18Z data, a little bit higher, but again, nothing of major concern. This would be between 4 a.m. Okay, it would be between about 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. But the strongest wind would likely be over the water. There wouldn't be very much over the foothills. Even if it shows some wind over the foothills, I don't believe this is going to verify. I think this is overdoing some areas, like in the outskirts of the King County foothills, like east of Enumclaw, along North Bend, Snoqualmie, River Bend area. I think it's possibly overdoing that. But these are going to be southerly gusts. The HER, again, has around 40 miles per hour. Some spots a little bit higher possible, but I don't see that likely happening with the storm track the way it is right now. Moski Movies, welcome back. Not able to contribute a monetary value, but I'm happy to stop by and make your. Don't worry, it's all good. Moski Movies, yeah. Monetary support is not required, so no problem. Lot of downtrending, like Keith said. Yes, a lot of downtrending, which is good. But even wind gusts in the 30 miles per hour range with some of the tidal overflow that we're expected to have tomorrow morning and Sunday morning too. Needless to say, is a bit concerning for some of these shorelines along the Puget Sound. Again, the wind gusts are going to be coming out of the south, so anywhere exposed to the shorelines from the south, which is pretty much the entirety of the Puget Sound here, including this could be for the Kitsap Peninsula as well. They don't currently have they don't currently have any advisories for the Kitsap side of the Puget Sound. Only the King, Pierce, Snohomish side of the Puget Sound right now, as well as the Skagit and Whatcom side of the Salish Sea. They also have Whidbey Island and the San Juan Islands in a coastal flood advisory. And that reminds me, we have to talk about all of the individual zones that we have going here. So we have 5 different zones with 5 different times and alert severities here to discuss. If the layman is prepared for weather events, they should only be looking at weather models the day before. Otherwise, just too wildly inaccurate most of the time. Yeah, there's a good reason this time around, too, why you didn't see a single model run post on my public blog post. I only shared the model runs with my subscribers and my my patrons who pay on Patreon. Just because the confidence was low from the get-go, and I didn't want to startle the public with a cry wolf scenario again. I was only going to make it public if there was a trend up today, but that did not happen. I did share it as a little excerpt in my recent coastal flood post that I talked about on Facebook. But again, I only alluded to it pretty lightly. How's the wind for Enumclaw Buckley? Not impactful. It doesn't look impactful for your area whatsoever. You'll notice it'll probably be a little breezy early in the morning on Sunday. Let's check out tomorrow too. Tomorrow looks a bit breezy too, but nothing of concern. You'll have some stronger wind over the water as usual, and maybe some isolated inland spots like Bellingham and surrounding areas could get up to 40, maybe 45 miles per hour. But I don't think this is enough to issue any wind advisories either tomorrow or Sunday. It doesn't look overall impressive right now. And again, Enumclaw, you're not going to get very much. Enumclaw Buckley area, it's not going to be super impactful for you. That's the good news. Port Townsend, surprisingly, they don't have you in any coastal flood alerts, which is odd. And no wind alerts either. Weird, okay. I just got something on my Discord that was kind of funny. Okay. But anywho, yeah, Port Townsend area could get some breezy south or southeasterly winds and gusts, and then a potential for a westerly surge later Sunday morning too when that front passes through. Let me show you the wider scale of what's likely to come. And I guess, okay, they haven't started the 0Z RRFS experimental yet, but the RRFS, which is set to replace the NAM and supposedly the HER sometime Q1 or Q2 of this year, isn't showing any big wins either, which again is good news. That's something you don't want to see. So let's look at a wider view of things here real quickly. About Tulalip, Marysville. Yeah, if you're along the coastline, you'll definitely have some coastal flooding concerns tomorrow morning and Sunday morning at the very least. Possibly Monday morning, but they don't have any products out for Monday as of yet. But right now, the main concern they're looking at as of now is early in the morning tomorrow. So like literally before the sun's even up tomorrow, we could have some minor coastal flooding. Looks like around, I think it was 1 to 2 feet above normal tides, if I recall correctly. I'll go over all of that here in just a second. Yeah, that's why they put in a coastal flood watch. That coastal flood watch right now is only let me make sure I have all the right information because there's a lot of different alerts to talk about here. So anyways, the coastal flood warning that was in effect this afternoon expired at 1 p.m. This was for the coast of Grays Harbor County. But a coastal flood warning does go into effect again from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow for the coast of Grays Harbor County as well as the coasts of Jefferson and Clallam counties. Ooh, pardon me. The quick moving one. Yes, it's a quick moving wind event, but the tidal overflow is going to hang around for a few days. I believe last time I checked, we'll have the low pressure, the king tides, and the perihelion all at one time, if I recall correctly. Let me make sure I'm using the perihelion correctly. Check the schedule for that. I believe I heard we have the perihelion, the king tides, and low pressure all at the same time, according to Scott Sistek's blog. So anyways, the Coastal Flood Watch is also in effect for the coasts of Grays Harbor, Jefferson, and Clallam counties. This time from Sunday morning at 10 a.m. to Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. So it gets a little bit confusing, so just hang in there real fast for me. So for the coastal flood warning, significant coastal flooding expected. Again, this is for the Grays Harbor County coast that they highlighted here. They have it split up into 5 zones for some odd reason. Different times and different severity levels. So we'll go over this real quickly here. Inundation 2.5 to 3 feet above ground level is possible along shorelines. And for the coastal flood watch, again, significant coastal flooding also possible there, but inundation 2.5 to 3.25 feet above ground level this time around. So the coastal flooding is likely to be worse Sunday morning than it is tomorrow. Again, this is for the Grays Harbor County coast zone. And then the North Washington Coast Zone. So this is the coasts of Jefferson and Clallam counties. Again, coastal flood warning in effect 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow. And a separate coastal flood watch in effect from 10 a.m. Sunday to 2 p.m. Sunday. That is likely to be upgraded to a coastal flood warning once tomorrow's coastal flood warning expires. Just a heads up for that. Tell you, if you become the weatherman who keeps it cool and chill, doesn't do the clickbait thing, you'll quickly become the preferred voice. Good luck on the new year. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, one thing, well, I hear a reverse alarm outside, was hoping no one's getting towed. We've already had 2 cars towed away in my apartment the last couple of weeks. Yeah, but one of my New Year's resolutions here on the page was to post less model runs. I've gotten called out for this time and time again. And, you know, I've been, like, borderline harassed for posting model runs as often as I did. But we're going to be posting less of those. Instead, I want to post more about NWS-issued alerts. For example, the coastal flood warnings, watches, and advisories, once they come out, I want to be one of the first to hopefully get those out. Which is why you've noticed an uptick in posting activity since yesterday. I think I made a total of 5 posts yesterday. I think only 2 posts today. But I had some activities I was doing today, like watching a movie with my stepdad. Good evening from Victoria. Hello there from Milton. But yeah, there's a lot of things I want to change for this new year, and hoping to start it out strong. So for the North Washington Coast Zone, again, very similar to the Grays Harbor Coast Zone, but they do uptick some of these amounts a little bit. For example, for the coastal flood warning tomorrow morning and afternoon, it's 2.75 to 3.25 feet above ground level. And for the flood watch for the next day, Sunday morning, 2.5 to 3.25 feet above ground level. So around the same as the Grays Harbor Coast Zone. But this, again, is for the coasts of Jefferson and Clallam counties. But significant coastal flooding likely. I know for sure at the very least it's king tides due to a supermoon and very low atmospheric pressure in the area. But I believe we're also in the perihelion phase too of Earth's orbit. So a lot of gravity factors, as Scott Sistek said in his blog, all at once. So it could easily trump the coastal flooding we saw back in, I think it was early November of last year. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. The only real difference is, where is the low pressure going to go exactly? What I do is I put out information on my Facebook weather page. Yeah, I'll check your page out again, Keith. I I may have followed it with my personal account, but I don't remember. If I didn't, then I will follow it with my personal account tonight as long as I remember. I should have a little bit less scatterbrain today. I got a little more rest than I anticipated to have last night and this morning. That's why I didn't get the video briefing out. You know, if you're a member here on YouTube, I did actually post an early reminder reel ahead of time. Expect more of those in the future, as long as we don't have any breaking coverage. We have planned live coverage, kind of like this, which I planned a few hours in advance. Then expect a reel for the members, as well as an update that I posted for the subscribers on Facebook too. I have to start reminding myself, I have to be better about posting the notifications on Patreon as well. But I made a subscriber page on Patreon. No, I made a subscriber post for my patrons on Patreon, and then included the live stream notification at the bottom of it. So I did not forget this time around. But another one of my resolutions is to be better about posting live stream notifications to the membership. Okay, anyways, we're now to San Juan County and Western Whatcom County. This includes Bellingham. The coastal flood advisory is in effect from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. tomorrow, so an hour offset from the Puget Sound area. Again, 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. coastal flood advisory for San Juan County and Western Whatcom County, including the city of Bellingham. And then a separate coastal flood watch is in effect Sunday morning. I believe around the same time, if I'm not mistaken. So for the coastal flood advisory, only minor coastal flooding expected around 1.5 to 2.5 feet above ground level, but significant coastal flooding possible on Sunday mornings, just a heads up, with 2 to 3 feet above ground level tides possible. So that will possibly be upgraded to a coastal flood warning as soon as tomorrow afternoon. Again, for Sunday morning, not for tomorrow morning. That is a great reminder for notifications. A Dash of Ash says, gotta tell you, the frequent streams have become a good thing for me to watch while I work on art. I get to learn what's up weather-wise and vibe. I like that. I really like that. Pete says, I will find out. Low or high pressure associated with westerly? It's always going to be low pressure in the islands. Yeah, it's going to be low pressure. Low pressure is usually what's associated with winds. But in this case, the low pressure is going to have sort of a suction effect on the water. You know, low pressure allows the tides to increase, while high pressure is sinking. So high pressure puts more pressure on the water, but holds the tide down lower. Now, it sounds a little bit confusing, but just think low pressure is rising motion. High pressure is sinking motion. With rising motion, you have higher tides. Sinking motion, you have lower tides. So that's why it's kind of a big deal, because there's going to be low atmospheric pressure on top of the supermoon and the perihelion at the same time. Daniel Anderson on Facebook asks, the extended forecast shows normal temps mostly through January. I think it will be another snowless Seattle winter this year. We had them in the past. Yeah, I was looking at this. I think it was last night's stream. We were looking at the extended, like the long range extended model runs, and it did not look good for January. Even the beginning of February doesn't look too good. Right now, the models I have access to go out to, I think, around 42 to 46 days. I would have better models to access if I had Weatherbell Premium, but that's just currently outside of the budget at the moment. And for some reason, my bank will not allow me to renew my license on there. So I'm stuck with Pivotal and a sort of streamlined experience for right now. It's unfortunate this time of the year, but it is what it is. But yeah, I agree. The extended forecast, the Climate Prediction Center says around normal precip, but above normal temperatures the next 3 to 4 weeks or so out. Not a good sign for mountain snowpack. Not a great sign. Will be much deadhead due to recent flooding affecting waterway and coves that collect the driftwood. Long-range forecast for lowland snow. Oh yeah, lowland snow is even worse. The lowland snow is, yeah, abysmal. Like, there's basically no shot of lowland snow going into at least the first week of February. Right now, I gotta say, right now. So yeah, that is San Juan County in western Whatcom County. And then we go into the Strait of Juan de Fuca area. So this includes cities like Port Angeles and Sequim, but this does not include Port Townsend. This is only for the coast of Clallam County along the Strait of Juan de Fuca from about Clallam Bay eastward to Sequim Bay. This is just a coastal flood advisory. They only have a product for tomorrow, not for Sunday, at least as of yet. The coastal flood advisory is in effect from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow, with only minor coastal flooding expected, inundation of 2 to 2.5 feet above ground level possible. Again, that is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow. Minor coastal flooding for cities like Sequim and Port Angeles along the water. And then we have the Puget Sound area alert. This also includes, let me make sure I have this right. This also includes Island County, so Whidbey Island, Camino Island, and western Skagit County. A little bit unusual because usually they combine Skagit County and Whatcom County in these alerts, but they have Whatcom County and San Juan County separate from the rest of the interior waters. A little bit of a head scratcher, but I trust the NWS with the communication on this. So a coastal flood advisory, this is for the Puget Sound area, not including Thurston County and not including Kitsap County. So this is for the coastlines of Pierce, King, and Snohomish counties. Coastal flood advisory in effect from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. tomorrow. So this goes into effect in a little under 12 hours. Minor coastal flooding expected, inundation 2 to 2.5 feet above ground level is possible. So not too much, but still enough to be noticeable. You probably don't want to be right along the coastline, especially if it's going to be a little breezy tomorrow to out of the south. It could create some hazardous beach conditions for areas like Redondo and Des Moines, for example. Alki Beach, you probably don't want to be there. Ferry terminals may be a little bit difficult to work with the wind and the coastal flooding as well. Again, from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. tomorrow for the Puget Sound area, not including Thurston or Kitsap counties. This is just right now, this is just for Snohomish, King, and Pierce counties along the coast. Public domain asks, what is good? My garden and lawn are confused but making hay. Yeah, I actually, outside my apartment here, right next to my building, I've had flowers blossoming for like the last week or so. It's really unusual. And I'm seeing my grass is starting to grow again at my parents' house. It's about time to mow the lawn if we ever have a long-term dry out. If we can get some warmer temperatures in and dry out a bit and don't have this fog in freezing low-level temperatures, then maybe time to break out the lawnmower a little bit early. Long range for, okay, yeah, already got to that. Yeah, so definitely some confusion. I even saw some yellow jackets out until like the early December, which was very fascinating to see. They survived the first initial freeze that we had back in October for some areas, which really perplexed me. But I haven't seen them since. We've had the last couple of, I wouldn't say hard freezes, but just some freezes in some areas, especially lower elevations. You know, if we were talking cold air advection freezing rather than radiational cooling freezing, then it would be a different story. But we haven't had a huge cold air advection event, as in you turn on the Fraser River outflow. That's the cold air advection. Advection is just a fancy way of saying transport. So you're advecting cold air from one location to another, usually through a method of terrain, such as in this case, the Fraser River Valley. Most mild winter in my recollection. Keith just finished a PowerPoint on the type of clouds. Moski says, I can help you out with that. Maybe an outside live stream where I'm mowing the lawn in the background. Yeah, you know, I've thought about outside live streams coming up. The only thing is I'm working with a lower budget right now, so I wouldn't have access to any cell boosters or Starlink. It would just be basically using my main phone as a hotspot and then recording with my old phone here. This is the phone I was using, the little little GorillaPod setup I was using. If you guys tuned into my New Year's live stream where I streamed outside as the clock hit 12, this is the setup I was using. This is an iPhone XR from 2019. And my main phone, so that's likely the phone you'll see for future streams if I do any more future streams outside here. But my iPhone 13 Pro Max is my main go-to. Will the wind be constant with gusts inland? No, it won't be too constant. It'll be hit or miss. But the wind's hardly going to be noticeable by the looks of it. It doesn't look like it's going to be a big wind event. Previously, in the last couple of days, it hinted at being a big wind event, but again, the models have only trended down since. So let me show you. Let's go back. I think 0Z was a good showing of this. Yeah, the 0Z had several areas of low pressure orbiting about one another, and then it kind of flung this one inland. It was also kind of trying to split off into a separate low here too, which would cause some widespread effects. But in the most recent European model, in the last couple of ones, he starts out as two separate low pressure centers, and instead of them orbiting about one another off the coast, they both get flung in different directions. One to the south, one to the north. So there would be, due to these two low pressure centers near each other, there wouldn't be a huge pressure gradient between them, which would really limit our wind potential. And I mean really limit it. Like, again, I'll show you what the gusts are showing. This was one of the failure modes for the Christmas Eve storm that never was, too. Is that there were two separate areas of low pressure near each other, and that reduced the tightness of the pressure gradient over this area, which, again, related to, like, translated to basically no wind at all. Outside of a few areas. This is what it's looking like for 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Sunday right now. Some areas getting about close to 35 miles per hour, mainly over the water, a little bit stronger here with the westerly surge. It's not going to be an impressive westerly surge either way. So we don't have any big wind concerns right now for areas like Whidbey Island, Strait of Juan de Fuca, or San Juan Islands. It just looks like your traditional breezy to blustery day during the winter that we're accustomed to several times a year. Again, not seeing any major causes for concern right now. Don't say that too loud. Say the weather is mild and Mother Nature will change her mind. Seems to be the case, right? Hey, Sonia, welcome into the chat. Yeah, I'm trying to make it a habit to send out early live stream notifications to the YouTube membership also. You know, I've been kind of slacking on the live stream updates. I see Michael posted an update too, talking about how the storm looks much weaker, which is great news. I need to figure out how to look at some of these tide gauges too. That would be a little bit helpful to show some tide gauges also. And just a reminder too, Puget Sound Stormwatch is on Instagram now. So I just recently updated this post here. I made a post about the potential coastal flooding here. Unfortunately, I'm not signed in, so I can't show you guys at the moment. I'll have to fix that here in a moment. But let me see if I'm able to do this right now. Gotta make sure I have the right password for this. Hey there, Brady G111, welcome in. Go to my password manager real quick. Hang on tight. Trying out a new stream feature also. I did have the YouTube counter before, but I disabled it temporarily for some reason. I do have the YouTube view counter as well as a new banner from Ko-fi. So you can now support us at the link shown in the lower right corner, and it will display alerts whenever people donate Ko-fis. So if you'd like to be the first one to be shown, go ahead. Feel free to donate a coffee if you want to see your name pop up on the screen with a cool little animation. Again, another new stream feature I'm testing out to start the new year. Let me go look up my Instagram password real quick. Hopefully don't have this issue in the future. It's thinking. Perfect. Okay, good. We're back. There we go. So it's low resolution because it's a little screenshot that's expanded in size. So basically, I just said multiple coastal flood warnings, watches, and advisories are in effect for parts of western Washington along the waters. For a full comprehensive write-up, please tune into Puget Sound Stormwatch on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, or Patreon. Valid January 3rd, 2026 to January 4th, 2026. As well as a Patreon link that you should be able to copy and paste if you'd like to. So again, Puget Sound Stormwatch is on Instagram now, just trying out some experimental features on there. Okay, checking the comments one more time. Hobby Farmers just getting in. Wind update for tomorrow, a worry or no? Tomorrow doesn't look worrisome. Neither does Sunday. Like tomorrow just looks like a breezy day, especially over the northwest waters here. Likely south or southeasterly winds. Probably around 10 to 20 miles per hour with some gusts 35 to occasionally 40 in some spots. And maybe a little bit of wind out of the east, but even then, the east wind does not look too impressive. You know, this is what it looks like for Sunday morning. And again, nothing to really run home about. It does look like it could get a little windier on Tuesday of this next week, though. So we'll be watching this closely. This will be our next little area to watch. It'll just be a cold front moving through. So it won't produce winds too strong right now, but still something to keep an eye on here in the near future. And really outside of that for the next 6-day period, that's really all we have to keep our eyes on. But still no major wind threats looking likely as of right now. The link for tides and currents, thank you for that, Keith. Yeah, I was looking at that site earlier, but couldn't quite navigate it like I saw Mike was doing it. But yeah, tidesandcurrents.noaa.gov is the site that you can use here. I'm still figuring out how to navigate this site myself. See, it does show tides for today on here. And there is a separate site for tide predictions too. Again, it shows the current time right about here. It shows high tides and low tides throughout the day. And yeah, the tide for about 5:48 a.m. tomorrow is going to be about 13.12 feet. You know, I wish they had a line, you know, or a way of denoting, if they do, the way of denoting normal high tide. Let's make sure we're on the right data set also. Bear with me, folks. Yeah, I think if I'm reading this right, it shows about 1.35 feet above normal for Tacoma by 5:48 tomorrow. It's only if I'm reading it right. But then potentially 1.5 feet above normal for 6:29 on Sunday morning. But I'll look more into this site so I can give you guys a better heads up. But yeah, thank you, Keith, again for cross-posting that site. Ooh, it's getting hot in here quick. I gotta turn down the heat. I just realized I didn't make my bed before the stream today. I just have everything stripped down right now in case anyone's going to nag me on that. You know, I do have some family members that watch and are just like, hey, you should, make your bed before your stream. Yeah, everything's stripped down and getting washed right now, so just don't worry about the background. Keith says, love to help out any way I can. Yes, thank you, Keith. You've definitely saved my posterior several times on the streams already. In case I come ill-prepared for something like having a tide map readily available. So thank you for that, Keith. All right. So yeah, here's a current look at satellite and radar. Showers, heavier showers north of our area, but some light to moderate showers passing through the Puget Sound area right now from south to north. That is the remnants of the system that came through yesterday. And then we're most likely going to bring in this area of low pressure. But this is likely to move off the coast and into central or northern Vancouver Island now. So as of the current update from the European model, this doesn't pose any hazard to us here in the Puget Sound area. Even off the coast, it's not looking too impressive for wind gusts anymore. It would mainly be confined to Vancouver Island, from what I've seen. Let's go double check again. The recent European run. Yeah, again, it splits off the low pressure, one to the north, one to the south. So the one to the north, it's going to affect northern Vancouver Island. While the one to the south is going to affect extreme northern California, most of central and southern Oregon. But no significant impacts expected right now along the coast. This wind that we see here, this is from the cold front from this system up here. So could have a little bit of a pressure rise that brings some wind to the coast, but again, not very much. It would be to the coast and the northwest interior waters. Really, that's about it. And then a little bit of a westerly surge right behind that front once it moves inland. But outside of that, no major wind concerns are presenting themselves right now. This is for Sunday. Locally, Rosario, high over 10 feet is problematic. Let you know, next time you're doing maintenance on the Pathfinder, I'm a mechanic and willing to give you a hand. Yeah, thank you for the offer. I'm okay right now, though. And if I haven't personally met you, then I don't accept Facebook friend requests, unfortunately. So I'm very, very sorry about that. But I do appreciate the offer, though. Trust me, I really do appreciate it. But gonna have to respectfully decline it for right now. Sorry, nothing against you, I promise. Nonetheless, let's go back to weather.gov here so I can show you guys the alert map. So this is what you see when you first hop on weather.gov/SEW, which is the code for the Seattle Weather Forecast Office. So you have some dark green along the coast and some light lime green in other areas. Okay, I can appreciate that. Yeah, again, nothing personal. I just, and again, thank you for the offer, but not currently looking for any helping hands at the moment. On the vehicles, that is. If you know anyone that might want to sponsor and help out the page, on the other hand, do feel free to send in inquiries. Looking for sponsorships this year as well. Anything that really helps. Anything weather related would be preferred, but I'll look into outside sources as well. I know Washington Weather Chasers, Ben and the team, have gotten help from sponsorships the last year. Actually, several services sponsored new snow tires for his vehicle, so it'd be pretty cool to have the same or a similar service, or really anything that'll help, pay the bills to do this full time. Again, if you guys know any sponsorships or are part of a company that would like to help sponsor Puget Sound Stormwatch in the near future, do feel free to send a message to the page or request an email also. I'll give you my email if you'd like to send in any sponsorship requests. But yeah, anyways, we have a lot of lime green and a little bit of dark green here. The dark green is a coastal flood warning. This is in effect for tomorrow, again from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow for the coast of Grays Harbor County, Jefferson County, and Tulalip County. I did not discuss the coastal flood advisory for Pacific County in my post. I was only talking about the alerts from NWS Seattle. This is from NWS Portland. But while I have you guys here, in case you know anyone in Pacific County, I'll go over that as well. This is the same time as the coastal flood warning tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., but only for minor tidal overflow flooding. And this is for the South Washington coast, so Pacific County, including areas like Seaview, Ilwaco, Long Beach, and Ocean Park. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow, minor flooding up to 1 foot above ground level. And all of these metrics are, let me make sure, all of these metrics are using MHHW. We'll go over that here in a second. This means mean higher high water level. So inundation above ground level refers to the height above the mean higher high water, or MHHW level. What will wind speed be at night into Sunday for Enumclaw Buckley? I missed it. At night into Sunday. So you're talking about tomorrow night. Is that right? Tomorrow night into Sunday? Yeah, so let's go tomorrow night. It's showing no more than 10 knots. So these sustained winds are going to be mainly out of the southeast at around 11 to 12 miles per hour sustained with some gusts. Let's go look at gusts real quick for the same period. It's only going to be gusting to around 25 miles per hour sometime between 4 and 10 p.m. tomorrow night. And then a little bit higher, around 26 miles per hour possible between 4 and 10 a.m. Sunday, but nothing more, and the possibility for less, but nothing more at the moment. So not looking impactful whatsoever for really any of the foothills. He says it looks like a fruitcake. Public domain says new code does not allow building within wide border to sea level. Many exist in the flood zone. Yeah, they really shouldn't be building really anywhere along the beach as it is. If I had to say in it, I would push all my infrastructure probably a mile inland just to be safe. And I wouldn't personally build in any tsunami inundation zones. At least anything that was in the historical 1700 tsunami zone. For any of you guys that remember, I think it was January 26th, 1700 is what they dated it back to, when we had that huge Cascadia subduction earthquake. And the reason that they determined that there was a tsunami was they actually did some dating back along the Japanese coast, as far as I know. They dated it back to almost exactly January 26th, 1700. Based on what they dug up along the coast of Japan. You want to learn more about that, just look up 1700 tsunami. Danica Micah says, thanks for going live, talking about this. We are planning on going down the 101 tomorrow in Oregon. What should I watch out for? The best time and place to see some king waves. That's a great question. This is where I wish I had access to wave information, but I don't currently. At least, if anyone knows a good site to look at waves outside of Weatherbell, please do let me know. Go see if they have any sites for Northern Oregon. Again, still experimenting with this site, so bear with me. Let's go look at mean higher high water level. Then you're looking at tomorrow. So it looks like at around 11:59 tomorrow for the Oregon coast near Garibaldi. 11:59 a.m. tomorrow morning, you'll see water levels about 1.92 feet above average at that time. So that would probably be the best time to head out there, around noon. So yeah, watch out for some breezy conditions. Shouldn't see anything major out there. But the biggest threat is definitely going to be some higher than normal tides. But I think me check for Sunday. It looks like Saturday may be the highest tide for you. Tomorrow at around noon may be the highest tide that you'll see out there. So if I were you, just don't go super close to the beaches. Keep safe distance from the beach and have an exit route in case you start to see the water levels rise. Like he says, yeah, Japan did have the record. And again, Keith is on it with the information. Global wave height forecast. Boy, it's gonna flip out because of my ad blocker. Come after me for using an ad blocker. Let's see. Hang on, bear with me. Nope, not able to do that. Okay. It's going to flip out on me. So, but yeah, this is a great site. Thank you, Keith, for recommending it to me. And try to figure this out in the next window over. No, it's going to flip out on me because I'm trying to figure out if I can disable the ad blocker for this window. Okay, let me see if that turns off the ads. Okay, much better. Perfect, Keith. You're on it. Another site to add to the bookmarks. Surfline.com. Hey there, Sonia. Welcome back. Yeah, see, it clearly shows the separate areas of low pressure. It even shows, I think it shows close to 4 little mesolows underneath the upper level low. It's 4 little surface lows, maybe even 5 or more than that underneath the parent upper level low off the coast. You're thinking of being in Depot Bay by 3:30, but staying off the beaches so we don't get caught in any sneaker waves. Yeah, sneaker waves, rogue waves, all of those are going to be entirely possible. So let's go a little further in time here. These are hourly intervals. Ooh, yeah, I really like this site. Shows big waves starting along the coast 3 a.m. tomorrow. Yeah, I like the interactive, how interactive the site is. Even shows you wind direction. And combined seas, 13.4 feet at 11 seconds. That's pretty cool. I'll have to mess around with this site some more, Keith. Thank you for the recommendation. Yeah, look, huge waves right off the coast of California, southern Oregon. See, Depot Bay is... Let me remember exactly where Depot Bay is. I think you're tucked away up in here. Okay, yeah, there you are. Just south of Lincoln City. So right off the central Oregon coast. It's looking like you could have some pretty nice waves there right off the coast around 5 p.m. tomorrow if the forecast is accurate. That's actually wind speed, so hang on, I was on the wrong parameter. Wave energy, wave period. We want wave height. Let's go back to approximate high tide. So it looks like the highest waves are probably going to be for the Depot Bay area after dark tomorrow. So around 6 p.m. to about 9 p.m., what I'm seeing right now. Little robot devices bobbing in the sea. And Keith says, how do you like this site? Do you mean how do I like this site? I like it so far. Cameras also? Oh, it's premium only, of course. Interesting. A lot of things to try out, for sure. Let's try wave buoys. Alright, where are we looking at here? Oh. Yeah, no wonder there's no wave buoys out there. There we go. None in the Puget Sound, but a couple in the Salish Sea. As of 3 a.m. this morning. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Again, something I'll have to try out here in the future. Thank you for the recommendation, Keith. Yeah, let's try this site. Hang on. Where was I before? Let's go back. If I'm able to. We're at surf charts. Hang on, folks. Bear with me. Oh, fascinating. Nearby buoys. Wave energy, swell. Different metrics, also wave energy. And wave consistency. Okay, so there's some pretty interesting tools on here. Yeah, it shows the surf forecast is going to be pretty poor coming up on Sunday. It's like between about 7:30 and 4:30. It's probably going to be very poor surf. And then it's showing again for Tuesday, too, with that upcoming system. Yeah, thank you, Keith, for the heads up on this site. That'll make things much easier to forecast further down the stretch. Pressure, salinity, temp, and what's on the menu. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on the stream dinking around with that right now, since I know a lot of you are probably coming in for a short time, so I want to satisfy the audience first, before I satisfy myself. Yeah, this is going to be our little wave maker coming up. And this little spin here is likely going to move off somewhere along the central Oregon coast down to the North California coast. And then this is going to be our main wave maker coming up along the northern Vancouver coast, most likely. Unless we have a sudden shift in the European model overnight that brings it back inland. But it looks like based on its current trajectory, that looks pretty unlikely at the moment. Let me see if I can load a loop real quick for you guys. Yeah, it appears to be moving a little bit east of north, but not too far to the northeast like the model was showing earlier. So I think I'm highly confident that we get out of an impactful wind event on Sunday. Looks like it's going to be more run-of-the-mill. Either Mama Miyamoto is in the chat. Welcome in. No waterfront property drama. I'm cold just thinking about that wind. Yeah, we'll have some wind chill for sure. We'll definitely have a noticeable wind chill. But I'm just not seeing any additional major wind impacts coming up. And again, for wind, this is for the event the morning of Sunday, 4 to 10 a.m. Again, nothing super impactful. But if you're along the beaches, actually debating on actually going out to an area like Redondo or Des Moines. You know, I think Des Moines has more parking and is a little bit easier to get out of. Like, has more space than Redondo does. So I think if I feel like it, I may head out to Des Moines on Sunday morning. I'm still thinking about it, but I'm not 100% sure I'll do it. Just to get some footage and maybe a live stream of the coastal flooding out there, potentially. Oh boy. Yeah, holidays are behind us. You know, I had a pretty good holiday season, but I'm glad it's over, respectfully. Definitely glad it's over. Ready to just clear my mind to get back to the weather grind. Whitney Davis says, headed to our property on the coast right now. Hopefully it's not directly along the water. If it's directly along the water, you could have some tidal overflow depending on where you are. And really anywhere from Grayland up north to Neah Bay is expecting major coastal flooding, really anywhere between 2.5 to 3.25 feet above normal level. So just a heads up to you when you're heading out there. That is a coastal flood warning in effect for those areas from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow. And then I think there was an additional coastal flood watch as well. Yeah. Sunday morning through Sunday afternoon for the Grays Harbor coast and the North Coast. So those are likely to be upgraded to warnings by tomorrow after the coastal flood warning for tomorrow expires. Then there will be a coastal flood warning or advisory for the day Sunday. Again, really, it's bouncing around between about 2.5 to 3.2 feet above normal ground level. This is based on the MHHW metric, aka the mean higher high water level. Just want snow in Puyallup, bro. Same. If I can at least see a couple snowflakes this year, I won't consider it too disappointing. But I haven't seen a single snowflake to date this winter. Like, not even a snowflake. Like, come on, man. Am I right? Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you know if any changes pop up for sure. We're in close enough time range to where we'll be watching any changes to the forecast extremely closely. But I'm not anticipating any any wind products to be issued for the Puget Sound area. We may not even get any advisories for the Northwest waters or the coast. It looks like that low pressure area is going to move too far west of us to bring any major impacts. Me and my BMW rear-wheel drive want to have fun. Yeah, I want to have fun in my four-wheel drive. But I haven't tested the 4-low. I think the 4-low might be busted in my transfer case. I remember hearing stories from my mom and my grandpa talking about how my grandpa ripped open my transfer case when my mom was still driving my vehicle and could not get the 4-low to work whatsoever. So it only has 2-high and 4-high. At least that I've tried. We're in Tokeland and actually run out right outside the floodplain. Okay, good. So you shouldn't have any major concerns then. I'd only be concerned if we have huge southerly winds out there, but that doesn't look like it's going to be the case this time around, at least initially. No snow at all. This is the first that I remember. Boomer memory aside. Yeah, trying to think of any years in the past, in recent history, where we've had no snow whatsoever, and I just can't think of any off the top of my head. Yeah, I know 2019 was a good year. 2021 was a good year also. I know we had a little bit of snow last winter, but not too much. We had like an inch of snow that melted off pretty quick. I remember that was like a month after I moved into my apartment. It's the only snow I've ever seen in this apartment, and I've been here for going on 1 year here in about 2 weeks. 2022 season, I think we had some snow. I don't know about 2023 to 2024. I don't remember that very well. Finally got a little in Idaho, but it's melting already. Yeah, if you're asking why I said good, I'm just talking about anything that was more than a dusting, really. Anything more than a dusting, I consider it to be good. Just because remember where we are in the world and just how difficult it is to get really any snow whatsoever. Just taking all of those factors into account. Ooh, there's a page called If Animals Could Post that just became a follower on Facebook. We'll have a look-sees at that in a little bit. Ooh, and we have a new free trial member 6 minutes ago. Michael Campbell, if you're watching right now, thank you for becoming a trial member for the Intro Forecaster tier on Patreon. Some snow, but no snow. All right, let's check a few things out here. Okay, yeah, so Scott says, yeah, it's a full moon, supermoon, and a perihelion with the low pressure. So no wonder they're concerned about the coastal flooding. Again, not only is the moon at one of its closest points, but we're also at one of the closest points to the sun. Making sure I'm not mixing up the perihelion with the aphelion, however you pronounce it. Either aphelion or aphelion, one of the two. Let's go look at the recent area forecast discussion real quick. This is from NWS Seattle. Active weather pattern for the next week. A stronger frontal system will move through later Saturday into Sunday for increasing winds. A break in the steady precipitation is possible Monday. Another system likely Tuesday and the Wednesday for lowland rain, breezy winds, and heavy mountain snow. It's good. We want to see as much heavy mountain snow as possible. Coastal flooding threat exists in the early next week. It says precipitation will continue to slide northwards tonight into Saturday morning. Lowland rain at times with snow levels remaining near 5,500 to 7,000 feet. So for the higher passes only into Saturday morning, tomorrow morning. Light east flow at the Cascade Passes may result in brief freezing rain at times for Stevens. Just a heads up. A section of Highway 2, as far as I know, moon looks weak, but it's high over Salish Sea. As public domain is saying. Let's look at the coastal flooding threat a little closer. Stronger system will move through Saturday into Sunday. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Doppler Dave, for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. I will try my best to keep up the good work. Thank you for the support. Coastal flooding. Abnormally high astronomical tides will result in an increased risk of coastal flooding through early next week. And then it says coastal flood advisories have been issued for a majority of the interior waters during high tide on Saturday morning, tomorrow, with minor coastal flooding forecasts. Coastal flood warning has been issued for the coast due to higher water levels potentially approaching 3 feet above ground level during high tide. And then it says water levels will likely peak on Sunday as high tides will coincide with lower pressure associated with a storm system tracking offshore. And breezy south winds will also occur Sunday AM during high tide. For this reason, coastal flood watches have been issued for the coast, San Juan Islands, and western Whatcom County. It says building seas offshore to near 12 to 15 feet will also exacerbate coastal flooding concerns along the coast. It says additional headlines such as coastal flood advisories will be monitored for elsewhere on Sunday due to expected minor coastal flooding. So expect another coastal flood advisory to be issued sometime tomorrow for the Sunday morning time frame for the Puget Sound area. Then when it comes to wind, talking about wind gusts in these areas along the immediate coast and the North Canal, or the Hood Canal northwards, pardon me. Wind gusts in these areas are expected to range 25 to 40 miles per hour with isolated higher gusts of 45. That's a little bit on the higher end of things. But it says elsewhere, so probably the Puget Sound area included in this. The gusts will peak between 15 to 30 miles per hour. So again, nothing really more than a moderate breeze for the area. Let's check here. So yeah, snow levels will generally range 4,000 to 5,000 feet Saturday into Sunday, resulting in higher elevation mountain snowfall. This is above Snoqualmie, but this is around the pass level of Stevens and White passes. Snow levels will then lower to 3,500 feet, which is just above Snoqualmie's level, by Sunday night. Yeah, in the long range right now. Trying to just skim through this real quick to sum it up for you guys. Good news is, it says there is increasing confidence for heavy mountain snowfall, including for the passes Tuesday through Wednesday, when that system comes through. Probability of over 12 inches of snow from Tuesday to Wednesday currently ranges 80 to 90% for Stevens and Snoqualmie passes. As in addition to lowland rain and mountain snow, another round of gusty winds are expected. Right now, they're using the national blend of models for this wind forecast, which isn't always the most accurate. It usually underdoes winds. Wind gusts over 45 miles per hour range between 25 to 45% along the coast and Whidbey Island. So this does not include the Puget Sound area, with much lesser probabilities elsewhere. So again, the systems coming up on Sunday and Tuesday going into Wednesday do not look impactful when it comes to winds. How soon will you know more about wind for Tuesday? Well, perfect time to start reading this right now. Sorry, I might have missed your comment from, what was that, 9 minutes ago? Let me refresh Facebook to make sure I'm getting all the most up-to-date comments here. Latitude position is crazy season to season as our wobble dictates. W for Dave. Yes, W for Doppler Dave 211. never get alerts on YouTube when you go live. You're one of several people who have reported issues with the live notifications. So, with that being said, I'm going to try to, as long as I have planned live streams, as long as you remain a member on YouTube, at least for the Intro Forecaster tier. This will include the Intro Forecaster and Stormwatcher tiers here on YouTube memberships. Then I will try my best to post little short reels, like little YouTube shorts ahead of time, hopefully a couple hours or more ahead of time, letting you know of when I go live. So if you're a member on YouTube for Puget Sound Stormwatch, at the very least at the Intro Forecaster level, then look out for those shorts during some days. I don't have a current live stream schedule at the moment. I'm just really live streaming during weather events and during highly requested days like today. I originally had no plans for a stream today, but multiple people requested I do a live stream briefing talking about the coastal flooding and the winds potentially coming up. And so that's why I posted a notification for the membership ahead of time. I think it was about an hour and a half ahead of time or so. Better safe than sorry, nature is woke too. Yeah, nature is very woke. You know, December was just a crazy month, and I'm experiencing burnout right now from December, for sure. Still very much burnt out mentally and physically from December. Oh, pardon me. Oh, let's see here. So seas 5 to 8 feet will build to 10 to 13 feet by late Saturday morning, hovering through the weekend. Seas will subside below 10 feet on Monday before possibly building again to 13 to 18 feet on Wednesday. Multiple frontal systems will move through western Washington in the next week. The Skokomish River is forecast to rise on Sunday, but currently expected to remain below flood stage. So it says it will rise again midweek and possibly approach flood stage on Wednesday with that system. But no additional river flooding is expected. This is mainly because we don't have the characteristics of an atmospheric river set up coming up. These are going to be your traditional frontal systems coming through, which don't produce too much rain over an extended period of time. Produces a lot of rain in a short period of time, but not enough to really kick up the river levels to flood stage. So they've held off on issuing any flood products as of right now for any of the area rivers, including the Skokomish. I'm just looking at some ring camera footage real quick. Okay, doke. Yeah, I just noticed my mom was taking an unusual amount of time at her doctor appointment this afternoon. Just making sure they got home safely, my mom and my stepdad, so they did. Good news there. Yeah, so I'm trying to be better about posting live stream notifications for the membership, including the patrons, pardon me. Guess I still have a little bit of scatterbrain remaining. But for the patrons on Patreon, the membership on YouTube, and the subscribers on Facebook. Let's see, how many people do we still have with us? We have a few of you guys hanging around on Facebook. Thank you for hanging around. And then we have, looks like 19 of you guys here on YouTube. So thank you guys again for tuning in on short notice. Yeah, how soon will I know about the wind on Tuesday? I'm not sure if I answered Kim's question directly. But right now, Tuesday doesn't look super impactful. It just looks like another moderate breeze, maybe a strong breeze to blustery conditions. But the strongest wind looks like it'll be over the northwest waters as usual. Northwest waters and off the central and southern coast of Washington. But elsewhere, it's only looking like 30 to 35 with isolated spots up to 40. But confidence is low on that right now. You're looking for the Enumclaw area in specific, and Buckley area, not looking too strong. Only around 30 miles per hour. And this, I believe, would be out of the south again, too, which it's out of the south-southwest. This would be between about 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Tuesday. So no major impacts expected with that system either. But I will definitely keep track and post updates if anything changes. Otherwise, just to prevent a lot of the cataclysm that came with the Christmas Eve forecast, I'm going to be holding back on posting model updates several days out. Just trying to clean up the act and make Puget Sound Stormwatch a much more credible source of weather information. So you may... Oh, Whitney says, you're keeping me company as I drive down the coast. Yeah, hopefully your service doesn't go out in an isolated spot and you miss any critical information. But I got all of the critical information out already, so you'll just be hanging around for some side talk or answering any questions, really. That's pretty much what the majority of the rest of the stream is going to be like. Yeah, we haven't had anyone test out that donate logo yet. So if you guys would like to send a helpful little tip to help out Puget Sound Stormwatch, this would be the way to do it. Let me make sure I pin this as well for you guys. That was no one's fault. Yeah, it just depends on who communicated it and how they communicated it. I think most of the people that I work alongside with handled the uncertainty quite well, in my opinion. Models showed wind and you reported it. Yes, this is true. I talked about the uncertainty as much as I could, but it still rubbed some people the wrong way. And I lost quite a few followers because of it, and I've been losing subs on YouTube over the last 2 weeks or so. Let me check my sub count. I think my peak was 2,153, and I'm down to 2,142 right now, which is not a trend I want to see, personally. You know what? It is what it is. Lessons were learned. As long as it wasn't like the March 26th forecast of last year, that was by far the worst bust I've ever been a part of. I'd say now, just due to the hype factor of it, I'd move Christmas Eve up to the... I could easily move Christmas Eve's forecast up to the number 2 greatest forecast bust in recent history, behind March 26th. And then October 2016 could probably be third. If you guys remember, October 2016, we were supposed to have a major bomb cyclone windstorm move into the area. And then it took a little bit of a wobble to the north last minute and completely missed us. Wrote a blog between sleet and freezing rain. Doppler Dave says then they don't understand weather. Yeah, it just depends on who you go to for your source. I personally think people like Ben handled it well, in my opinion. Michael handled it okay too, but he's been getting a lot of flack from people saying he was hyping it, which I sort of agree on, but no disrespect to Michael whatsoever. And of course, there's Cliff, but I'm not going to go into much detail about Cliff. I've already been ratted out for even questioning Cliff's blog posts in the past, so I'm not even going to get started with that. Yeah, Keith, I'll check out your blog between sleet and freezing rain after the stream's done. Yeah, you should do one to talk about snow pellets also. If you have enough time to change it, maybe talk about snow pellets also. You can talk about the difference between snow pellets, ice pellets, and freezing rain. I think that would be a pretty cool idea. Just a little personal tidbit, but I still think it's a really cool idea, disseminating the differences between sleet and freezing rain. Yeah, let's look at the weather patterns coming up. I made a post about this to the subscribers and patrons earlier. Looking at the 500 millibar height anomalies here on the European, we go back to the 12Z and just show you. Now, I go into more detail about this on the blog, but I'll show you guys just what it's showing. After these systems swing through on Tuesday and Wednesday, we get what looks like a mega death ridge that forms over us, like that white color. And it sticks around for over a week. Literally, we go all the way into the 17th and it's still hanging around. Again, Fantasyland. We're talking about Fantasyland here, so likely to change. I'm hoping the signal begins to decay and this ridge retrogrades back to the west so we can get this Arctic air to finally spool into the area and build up our mountain snowpack and potentially an outside shot of maybe some lowland snow, but only in isolated parts. But yeah, this has us transitioning from a trough to a ridge pattern sometime on Thursday of this next week. And then the ridge sets up shop and it becomes the mega death ridge. Something Cliff would probably call this Ridgezilla. It's just ridiculously above average heights. Like I think this is upwards of 35 to 40 decameters above normal, which is just insane for this time of year. That would put a huge cap on our weather and send the jet stream all the way north into Alaska and the northern territories of Canada. This would be a huge, uneventful blocking pattern for us. Would probably bring back those cold and foggy mornings and nights like we had just recently. Talk about the ridge forming. Perfect golf weather if there's no fog. He would call it Ridgezilla too. Yeah, just like the Godzilla atmospheric river. But again, I didn't say a thing. I've seen some people dub it Ridgezilla. I kind of joke around and call it the Mega Ridge or the Ridge of Death. But I don't say that publicly. Other than just now. Not in my blog post, but it does show ridiculously above average height contours for this area at 18,000 feet. When we go to 850 millibar temperatures, it's just awful for snowpack. The temperatures at 5,000 feet. See here, see all that purple? Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's zoom into the general region. This is the worst signal possible for snowpack. Absolutely awful. This is showing 16 degrees Celsius, which is the equivalent to about 29 degrees Fahrenheit above average at 5,000 feet. That is abysmal. There's even some areas here that get, see, that was 17. Yeah, 17 degrees Celsius, which is over 30 degrees Fahrenheit above average at 5,000 feet, which is most of our past levels here. The 850 millibar or 5,000 feet temperature anomalies are just stupid. Really, the entirety of the next 2-week period. So here's that upper level low that we introduce on Sunday. Brings some cool air into the area, some of it, but not enough for widespread snow. Like it'll be enough for some heavy mountain snow at times, but it's not going to be sustained. Once we bring that ridge into play, it's going to bring ridiculously above average temperatures for the mountains, and any precipitation, if any precipitation gets through this ridge block, it's going to be in the form of rain, and a warm rain at that. Just not a good sign for mountain snowpack going into the middle of the month. Again, if we have a new run of the European weeklies also, the EPS weekly, so we can look at the longer term heights and temperatures and precip anomalies, and oh yeah, this is from hour 252 to 420. So this is from the 11th to the 18th. of January coming up and way above average heights. That is not a signal you want to see. But it looks like a little bit of relief the next week after that, from the 18th to the 25th. But we need a deep trough signature up here to really be confident about this snow signal coming up. But confidence is extremely low. Either neutral or slightly below average heights for the region coming up. And then we look at 5,000 foot temperatures, and it's pretty much a toss-up. But again, the 11th to the 18th does not look good in the European weekly forecast. Which again goes out to about 38 and a half days right now in this model run. So this is very likely going to change, but the initial signal is not looking great for really any cold weather whatsoever, even up at the mountains. Let's go look at precip rate overall. See, awful signal coming up for the second full week of January. Then some relief possible as we go into the first week of February. Last week of January going into the first day of February could feature some more precipitation. But then after that, really any time between that is going to go either way. Then snowfall rate anomalies. See, looking good over the next week. Then after that, terrible. And then it's really just back and forth, just teetering above or below average signals going into the potentially the first full week of February. It's just not something you really want to see for this time of year. And temperature anomalies at the surface, it's either or really. It's a toss-up. It's going to be on either side of average, either slightly above, slightly below, or right around average going into the second week of February. Second week of February. So these signals will change. This is super low resolution, but it's called the European Weekly, so it goes way out in the future. Oh, hey, there we go. Look at that. Thank you so much, Gina, for the tip. And we got the notification in the YouTube chat also. That's cool. Thank you so much for the generosity. That is from Gina Foxley. So thank you for your generous donation. Pretty cool, right? So now when you donate on Ko-fi, seen right here, it comes up with a little animation that shows that. And it shows in the YouTube comments when someone donates a tip also. So thank you very much for the donation of a Ko-fi. Actually, 2 Ko-fis. I wish it showed you how many Ko-fis someone donated on there, but it doesn't. I got to play around with the API a little more, but thank you to Gina Foxley for the donation of 2 Ko-fis. Really, really appreciate that. If you're hanging around on the stream, yeah, now we know the animation works. Awesome possum. I got a pop-up on Firefox too, so it's perfect. Everything's working perfectly so far. So yeah, that's likely what's coming up in the long range through the rest of January into the first full week of February. It's not a good signal for snow or really precipitation in general. Let's see. I think did we already go over the new cam models? Let's just check a few things. My confidence in these models has rapidly degraded after the Christmas Eve forecast, but we're still going to look at some tidbits anyways to see what the models think. And yeah, it has it a little breezy tomorrow morning. This is around the 11 a.m. Southerly wind gusts, 30 to 35 most places, but upwards of 40 to 45 here over the waters, the Salish Sea, and surrounding areas. And then Sunday system, you could see a little bit of stronger wind over the waters. 45 miles per hour possible. This is the HRRR or HER model that we're looking at. When will the rain stop in Parkland tonight? Looks like the back end of the rain is currently wrapping up, at least the steady rain. It's going to be wrapping up here in the next hour to hour and a half. That's weird. My Facebook widget disconnected from my clock. Smart clock. I'm going to have to fix that, I suppose. Kind of a poor time for that to happen. See if I can get that reinstated real quick. That's odd. My Facebook account disconnected from my smart clock. I'm gonna have to fix that real quick. For the code, I will do that. See if that does the trick. Just got to fix a little technical error real quick. All right, did that fix it? Yep, we're back. Okay, good. We're back. Perfect. Sorry guys, just had to fix a small little technical error real quick, but we're back in action now. Did they just kick me off the stream? Hope it didn't just kick me off the stream. Okay, I think we're still going. Okay, good. Yeah, we're still going. That was... All right, yeah, perfect. Why is wind always from the south in Buckley? The typical wind direction is from the south because that's the direction where the pressure gradient is tightest, is to the south of us. And usually the position of storms off the coast favors southerly winds around the area too. Don't change. We all appreciate you and your live forecast. Thank you, Kim Leonard, for the kind words. Oh, perfect. Doppler Dave sent 5 gifted memberships. Thank you for that. So 5 of you guys at random were gifted new memberships for 1 month. It looks like that is for the intro forecaster tier. So thank you, Doppler Dave, for spreading the love. Yeah, Keith, I didn't have any dropouts on YouTube. I was just making sure Facebook didn't cut off. It's getting toasty in here, so I'm going to open my door real fast. Usually leave my door open for streams, but I tried it closed this time around to hold in heat, but it got toasty quick with all the lights and the computer going. Yeah, thank you, Doppler Dave. Welcome to all the new members. Glad to have you all aboard. Working on getting some membership-only videos set up and a video schedule for that at that. Just as a heads up, you know, I kind of blew my shot at posting probably one of the only briefing videos for the rest of the week, going into the beginning of next week, as of right now, by sleeping in a little bit today. But, you know, that's okay. But I do hope sometime next week I can get back into the schedule for doing regular briefings. I'm still figuring out exactly what I want to do for membership content too. But a lot of you guys who are gifted memberships at the very beginning are about halfway through your gifted membership period. And so if you feel like it, please consider renewing your membership. But if not, that's totally okay. I understand. I haven't done too much on this channel really to warrant you renewing a membership and having it benefit you. But I will work on that eventually. So just bear with me on that, please, and thank you. I do want to make it worthwhile for the members here on YouTube. But yes, welcome to all of our new members. Glad to have you guys all aboard. So yeah, as said before, the back edge of rain is on our doorstep, just waiting for Windy to get its act together. I may have to try out the desktop plugin because I think the website's a little bit glitchy. Has been glitchy for some time. Just bear with me. I'm going to try to get the site reloaded. Okay, yeah. So the back end of the steady precipitation is coming up the I-5 corridor right now. Then it's just really going to be hit or miss showers through tonight. But I don't see any indications of any steady rain coming in. Just the showers behind this steady wall of rain moving up from Pierce County right now. Behind that, again, just showers expected. Ooh, that cooled off the room fast. Much, much better. Let's see, how long have we been going here? Going here for about an hour 41. Gonna go ahead and roll an ad real quick for you guys on YouTube. Sorry about that. I'm just gonna take a break, get some water. So I'm going to roll an ad in the meantime. I'll be back after the ad. All right, I don't know how long the ads are going to be, though. Just a little heads up. But you may see, if you guys are on YouTube, if you guys are back on the stream and not being interrupted by the ad, we may have some more ads on the stream from time to time. You know, it's not to be selfish, I promise. And during any breaking live coverage, we'll have minimal to no ads. But during traditional coverage like this, you may see some ads from time to time here on YouTube, at the very least. Facebook, I don't think, has that problem. But really trying to take advantage of the fact that I now have a full-fledged YouTube partnership here now, and to maximize the earning potential from that. How bad is the flooding going to be? Excuse me. How bad is the flooding going to be in coastal waters of BC? I don't think Environment Canada... Does Environment Canada issue coastal flood products? Does anyone know the answer to that? Because I don't think Environment Canada issues coastal flooding products, but they may. But I'm not well, if the coastal flooding's potentially going to be considerable, I wouldn't say considerable, but up there in the Northwest Interior waters, like San Juan Island and Whatcom County, for example, then you could definitely see some higher tides, some inundation of around 2 to 2.5 feet possible for the Nanaimo area. Okay, so they have issued coastal flood products. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Wonder if I'm able to look that up right now. Let's look up ECCC alerts. Environment Canada and Climate Center. Okay, so for Nanaimo, BC, they do have a coastal flood statement. So, yeah, this is for you, Mark Skelton. This is for you. This was issued at 4:41 p.m. this afternoon. Abnormal high tides combined with low pressure may produce minor to moderate coastal flooding. This is again for the Nanaimo Ladysmith area. Elevated water levels accompanied by strong winds and waves are expected, exceeding highest astronomical tides. It says the highest risk of coastal flooding for you is going to be on Sunday, just as a heads up. And again, they say the south coast of BC, of Vancouver Island, is entering a period of high astronomical tides as Earth reaches perihelion, where it's at its closest point to the sun. Also, a low-pressure system will cross the region this weekend. What they don't mention in that is the the lunar potential too. Talking about the supermoon. But yeah, we have the supermoon, low atmospheric pressure, and the perihelion all coinciding. Go figure. And cooler air for Sunday looks like for all the BC coast. Right now it says Vancouver Island coastline from Nanaimo to Saltaire. At least for the region I selected. So yeah, moderate winds and storm surge can lead to washed up debris and erosion along coastal areas. Minor to moderate coastal flooding is likely along exposed shorelines, especially in the low-lying areas. There's risk of locally significant flooding, especially where onshore winds compound on the highest tides. Roads and walkways may be difficult to navigate due to flooding and or debris such as driftwood and rocks. You know that if you stand with your back to the wind and turn counterclockwise about 30 degrees, the center of low pressure will be to your left. Interesting factoid, Keith. I did not know that. So therefore, if you stand looking due north with the wind out of due south and then turn counterclockwise, but to the left, about 30 degrees, center of low pressure will be to your left. You're talking about perpendicular to your body position, right? So if you're 30 degrees west of north, that means that the low pressure is going to be 120 degrees west of north. Is that correct? Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah, that's for Environment Canada for the coast of Vancouver Island. Okay, Keith says yeah. So it's showing no big winds. Yeah, it's showing no significant winds. It's showing traditional winds for this time of year, and I'll go back and look at the model runs one more time. But this is showing some wind. The HRRR, the HRRR model, is showing some of the gusty winds happening a little bit earlier. It shows it happening around 9 p.m. tomorrow night. And then during the day, during the early morning on Sunday, it does pick up a bit with the winds, but mainly over the waters. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a gust 40 to 45 in some areas of the North Sound. But elsewhere, it's looking pretty seasonal. This is around 7 in the morning on Sunday. But again, I'm really questioning the high-res models just because of their performance with Christmas Eve. So I don't want to be the guy to cry wolf at first on this. But let's go see, because the RRFS experimental model, the one that's set to replace the current high-res models, is rendering at the moment, but it's not quite in range yet. So we'll have to wait a few more frames for this to come into range and see if it agrees with what the European is showing. Because at least so far, the high-res models have been doing a much better job agreeing with the European in the short term, which is a good sign. That's what you want to see. South end of Lake Whatcom, winds rip through here. Windy app never showed much over 40. Yeah, a lot of people use Windy, and they've been sharing the same things. I think it's just a different user interface, but I believe the algorithms between the model sites in Windy are approximately the same, minus maybe a few tweaks here and there. Like for Windy, I know they make it almost completely interactive compared to these sites like Pivotal Weather and WeatherBell, which are more of a fixed format. So there are going to be some differences between Windy and Pivotal and the other weather sites, but it should be pretty minor differences at that. Yeah, south end of Lake Whatcom, you could have some locally stronger winds, just as a heads up. And I don't really even want to think about the NAM, but I'll give the HRRR a little credit here. Whoop, I selected the WRF Air W on accident. Let's go back to the HRRR. Yeah, so let's see, first I want to go to tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon, Whatcom County area could have some south or southeasterly wind gusts upwards of 40 to 45 miles per hour, just as a heads up right now. Anyone in the Bellingham area and surrounding areas off towards the Salish Sea could have some breezy to blustery winds out of the south or southeast. or just the south-southeast in general. And then it should be in and out relatively quick, maybe no more than a few hours. Why is Windy saying the winds for Sunday afternoon in Nanaimo? That question wasn't finished, so I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. And then, at least according to the HRRR right now, it actually looks like the wind gusts will be stronger up there tomorrow afternoon than Sunday morning. At least initially. Again, all the models are still different on timing and intensity, so we're still a little too soon to really talk about the wind gust potential. Just a little bit too soon. I really want to see what the model that's set to replace the NAM is going to say. It renders pretty slow, so just bear with me on that. Let's go throughout the day tomorrow. See, it's showing some breezy to blustery conditions over the waters pretty early in the morning tomorrow, about 12 hours in advance. And then breezy conditions around the Puget Sound area. Some of the foothills also, but mainly over the waters and the coast. But again, nothing significant looking likely for tomorrow. Sunday also, again, not looking particularly significant around the area, but I still need some more frames to render before I make that confident conjecture. Where's the surface flow going to? Right now, it's forecasted to move into North Vancouver Island. The original forecast wanted to bring it directly up the Puget Sound, which would have been a major blow. But luckily, it's trended back the other way the last 24 hours. Now it looks like the surface flow is going to miss almost the entirety of the Pacific Northwest and just take a slightly northeast track into North Vancouver Island. The experimental model is going to be a little bit different on this. Has it a little bit farther east. But it doesn't have much of a pressure gradient because we have that secondary area of low pressure to our south. If that secondary area wasn't there, though, then this would likely have a tighter pressure gradient, and the low pressure being there right down there probably wouldn't matter too much. It would still bring some isolated big winds to some areas, mainly the coast. But with that area of low pressure moving in that's around the same strength as this one, a little bit weaker at the time, there's not going to see the distance between the lines is much greater than you normally see during a big windstorm. The greater the distance these lines are between each other, like the farther these are apart from each other, then the less your wind's going to be over a given area. See, this would be a pretty strong gradient down there. So I wouldn't count out any stronger winds for the South Oregon, North California coasts. But we only have about a 6 millibar gradient expected on this experimental model along the entire Washington coast in general. Yeah, like Tumwater Troy says, thank you for the gifted memberships, Doppler Dave. Welcome aboard, Tumwater Troy. Glad to have you. Yeah, this forecast would be much different if we didn't have this secondary area of low pressure revolving about this one. Would be a much different forecast, most likely. We still have about 2.5 hours before the next European run. The European shows similar. It shows one area of low pressure here and then another area trying to separate from the low-level flow, which it eventually does. So it splits right about there. This becomes split from the low-level flow of this low-pressure system. These become two different areas of low pressure. And then you see one moves off to the east, and then one moves off to the north. This one, it's a little bit confusing to see. You see these little closed areas of low pressure here. Those are your two main areas of low pressure. This one moves all the way into North Vancouver Island. This one swings up the Central Oregon coast. Again, the pressure gradients don't look too particularly impressive right now, which is good news. And then this is likely Tuesday and Wednesday system coming through. One thing to keep an eye on, though, and this has been brought up before, I think. Watch out for this convergence zone Wednesday morning, which could be Wednesday morning. Could bring a mix or maybe even some snow to some of the lower foothill elevations. This is a heads up. It's a little bit too soon to say, but the potential has been showing up for maybe some mixed or frozen precipitation over parts of Snohomish and King counties. Again, mainly over the foothills, likely above 500 feet if a convergence zone were to set up right after that cold front, because that's coming in out of the northwest. So it's going to bring cooler air, almost certainly going to bring in a cooler air mass, which could lower the snow level for a short amount of time. But most of the snow anyways, like 95 to 100% of the snow is going to be up in the mountains, the higher elevations, likely above 3,000 to 3,500 feet or above. Hopefully it agrees. Need to sleep that night. Yeah, I'd rather not have any overnight storms coming up soon. Knock on wood for that. I'd like to get my sleep schedule back together, preferably. They're saying something for the BC Coast Monday. Yeah, Tumwater Troy says, guess where I am. If I had to guess, you're probably up in like Enumclaw or Bellingham or something, right? Tumwater Troy. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Sam Ratet says, howdy y'all, wind's coming again, yeehaw, but not as strong as originally predicted. See, if you guys noticed, I think in my stream last night, there's been a downtrend since. I believe there was a pretty strong downtrend since my stream last night for wind coming up on Sunday. It just, the pressure gradient's not really going to be there. So you don't have a tight pressure gradient. See, it's a pretty minuscule pressure gradient right now. It's not going to translate too much to wind around much of the area. See, right now, the European's showing less than 30 miles per hour for most of the Puget Sound area. Even off the coast, it's not showing too much. It's showing the most wind being with the westerly surge once that cold front comes through later on in the morning or early afternoon on Sunday. But that's really about it for significant wind right now. Keith says snow levels are at 1,000 feet on Tuesday. Okay, so they will come down pretty good on Tuesday. So thanks for the clarification, Keith. Again, you can find that info here on the weather.gov/SEW site as well. And that's weather.gov/SEW, where you can just go to weather.gov and select the Western Washington area here, and then you'll see that specific area. Then you'll want to go to local forecast graphics, and then go over to precipitation, and then minimum freezing level, and then select your day. So right now, day 6, Wednesday through Thursday, is down to around 2,000 feet or less. Day 5, snow levels for the mountains are going to be likely 2,000 feet or less. But it's going to be around 2,000 to 2,500 for the Puget Sound area. Okay, that's freezing, not snow level. Pardon me. Let's change that up. That's freezing level. Okay, yeah, snow level is a little bit different. Snow level for Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday afternoon is going to be pretty low, at least compared to what we're used to. But it's going to be even lower Wednesday afternoon into Thursday afternoon. And then it starts to go back up. Yeah, as that colder air mass begins to come in. Snow levels will likely be below 2,000 feet around most, if not all, of Western Washington. That is anything in this lighter white contour here. Anything in the darker white contour is over 2,000 feet, 2,000 to 4,000. It's just how to read it based on the grid on the left, the legend. Yeah, snow level and freezing level are going to be a bit different. Of course, you can have snow levels below freezing levels. As we see here on day 5, for example, Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday afternoon. It's around 2,500 feet for freezing levels at Tacoma, but the snow level is a little above 1,900 feet. I believe this takes into account the factors of downward mixing as well, like mixing the colder air down towards the surface. Yeah, we can look at wind graphics too, and these are predicted winds. Let's go with this is Sunday's system most likely. So Saturday, so tomorrow at 4 p.m. to Sunday 4 p.m. Right now, the forecast max wind gust. This is using a few different models. They mainly use the National Blend of Models, which is the NWS's ideal ensemble run. And this only shows around 30 to 35 for much of the Puget Sound area, with some higher gusts likely in your susceptible areas like Northwest Interior, off the coast, and over Hurricane Ridge. But outside of that, not looking majorly impactful. And then this is going to be Tuesday and Wednesday system here, which again, not looking really, just a little whiff of wind. And that's really about it right now from what I'm seeing. But again, you can find all of these graphics on weather.gov and then select the Seattle County warning area and then go down to forecast graphics. Again, this is, if you go to weather.gov, this is the site you're going to see here. Then you click on the general area, go down to local forecast graphics, and then select your graphic of choice underneath the drop-down menus. Sorry if it flickers a bit much. There's not much I can do about that. Yeah, the next 7 days, it keeps the snow, at least the accumulating snow in the mountains, in the higher elevation. How's Arlington look? Doesn't look impressive for wind, if that's what you're talking about. The only area in Snohomish County that really has to worry about coastal flooding is anywhere west of Arlington. So that includes like Everett, the marina along Everett, Mukilteo area, Edmonds, and Stanwood. Parts of Tulalip as well. Anywhere along the shoreline facing the Puget Sound has coastal flooding concerns. But Arlington, you'll be safe from any coastal flooding concerns. But yeah, for wind, it's not looking too impressive. Maybe sustained winds 10 to 20 with gusts 35 to 40 possible. But that's about what you usually see during this time of year, during any precipitation whatsoever. So no major impacts expected this next week for Arlington. Yeah, sure thing, Tiffany. Sure thing. Let's see. Is there really anything else to cover? I think we pretty much went over everything we just crossed the 2-hour mark. Yeah, so winds for the area not looking too impactful. Again, I'll select the Arlington area here and we'll go through the day on Sunday. You see, it doesn't get above 30 miles per hour. Even weaker tomorrow with that, like right ahead of that passing system. And look at that. There's Doppler Dave again with the 5 gifted. Sweet. Thank you so much for that. So 5 additional gifted memberships to 5 lucky people chosen by random. Thank you so much, Doppler Dave, for the generosity. So let's get a W Dave in the comments, everyone. W Dave on YouTube. Wish there was a way to show it on the stream. There might be a way, if I play around with the API a little bit, I might be able to show when people gift memberships, but not 100% sure about that. Coding hasn't always been my forte. Yeah, we'll have to watch Tuesday system for sure. Tuesday system could bring some stronger winds over the water, but again, not a guarantee. This wouldn't translate much inland, only about 30 to 35 miles per hour inland for gusts. Sustained winds, again, would be about 10 to 20 out of the south. Very intermittent, and it would be a quick in and out system. Like, before you know it, in and out. Yeah, so Doppler Dave so far tonight has already gifted 10 new memberships to break in the new year. So thank you so much, Dave, for your generosity. Yeah, W Dave, everyone. W Dave. I think with that for the period, we have, I think last time I checked, we have 59 memberships now. Let me make sure of that real quick. Yeah, so before the update, we had 49 members. We're now up to 59 members already. And I think 53 of those are gifted. 6 of you guys actually bought memberships. Let me make sure of that on the graphics. Doesn't distinguish between gifted members and members that actually bought memberships. But I know at least 6 of you are on the tier 2 membership, so you bought the actual memberships. Yeah, there's 43 of you guys. Got to check and see how many of those were gifted again, but I think a lot of you guys' memberships will be expiring sometime halfway through this month. So again, no pressure if you don't want to if you don't want to renew your membership, that is okay. I completely understand. Still have some growing pains on my end, so but we're gonna hopefully get it figured out very soon. I just realized I didn't even link my store on this stream too. For some reason, YouTube makes you relink the store every single time you start a new live stream, which is extremely inconvenient. I'm going to link a few products here for you guys to select from. If you guys want to go look at the Puget Sound Stormwatch store real quick. Give you guys a few products to look after. Hang on, give me just a second. Okay, there we go. We're going to pin the PSSW logo hoodie. Perfect, there we go. Oh, it's because there's the setting I have to turn on. Hopefully that fixes it in the future so I don't have to keep doing that. Extremely inconvenient. But yeah, W's for Doppler Dave. For the 10 gifted memberships tonight. Yeah, let's compare this to the GFS, because the GFS and the Euro still have a little bit of divergence in the forecast. But of course, I'm leaning more towards the Euro in this case. But let's go see what the GFS has to show, the 18Z. Yeah, 18Z GFS shows a bit different. Still shows that system moving to the north, but almost due north and even away from North Vancouver Island. And then it swings the system in much weaker to the Central Oregon coast. Actually swings a tighter pressure gradient through the Puget Sound too, which would be interesting. What does that translate to for gusts? Usually not the model to use for wind gusts just because of its low resolution. But it's showing wind gusts around 35 to 40 for most of the area. But again, it doesn't take terrain exaggeration into account. So it's really hard to use this model to predict wind gusts. Let's see, it shows Tuesday's frontal system pretty clearly, but still not much for wind gusts for that. Let's see if anything else shows up of significance here on the GFS. See, this is where the solutions are really going to begin to diverge. As around this time, it shows the mega ridge on the European, but it shows us in an active storm pattern. Ooh, that would be interesting. In an active storm pattern on the GFS. So really, which one will you take, honestly? Which one would you take? I got to go with the Euro because of its reliability, but let's check height contours here on the GFS. The trough, not as strong of a ridge. And then several troughs clipping us, including a really deep fantasy trough in just the right spot, potentially bringing in some cold air. The difference is this one's coming out of the west-southwest. We need it to come more out of the north or the northwest for that colder air shot. That would likely just bring wind potential, but no real snow potential to the area. That would be sometime around Friday the 16th, but we're in fantasy land here, so it's a heads up, likely not to verify. Again, GFS shows a big storm during this time. And the Euro, during the same time, shows a big ridge. So what's going to be your take here? Let's see what the AI model shows, the European AI model. Does it agree with the Euro or the GFS? Agreeing more with the Euro with that ridge setting up, but it has the ridge moving out much sooner. And then maybe a quick shot for a potential atmospheric river there too. Let's look at some precipitable water. No, it's more so going to be a frontal system than an atmospheric river. Good news is the atmospheric river potential looks very low the next 2 weeks on all models. If it does have an atmospheric river, it's going to affect mainly central Vancouver Island northward. And it's going to be pretty transient, which means it's going to move through pretty quickly. It's not really going to hang up over one area. Possibly on the 13th, it could hang up a little bit over Vancouver Island, but these are in 3-hour intervals. Never mind, they're in 6 hours. So yeah, that would actually probably hang up a little bit over central Vancouver Island. But confidence is low. This is over 10 days in the forecast. Take this with a grain of salt. As Michael Snyder says in his briefings and in his live stream last night, which I did tune into for a short time, the European AI model is quickly becoming the model of choice for deterministic use. Its AI infrastructure is quickly catching on to forecasting, and time again has wins, several wins. Not wins, but W's, wins. So this is quickly becoming the model of choice. I just wish it had more parameters, like wind gusts, for example. We can only view surface level wind, pressure, and wind direction, but no gusts. So it makes forecasting wind gusts pretty difficult. At least on pivotal weather. It may be different on WeatherBell. I only experimented slightly with the AIFS on WeatherBell when I still had it, but I didn't go super in depth. But I don't think it has gusts on any of its infrastructures here. And looking at precipitable water anomalies, and yeah, that's an atmospheric river signal. Sometime in about a week and a half, but we'll have to see if that catches on, if it stays in multiple model runs. Let's see, it was drastically different in the 12Z, the last run here. So it kind of brings the atmospheric river in a couple days earlier and a bit farther south. So this is the model disagreement that I'm talking about in the mid-range. This is why I want to really refrain from making any guesses out in this range right now. Let's go look at ensemble wind gusts for the area coming up over the next 2 potential events. So average wind gusts are going to be around 30 to 35. Again, this is the 50th percentile. So this is taking the average of the 10th and 90th percentile wind gusts. So it's showing the average out of 50 different ensemble members plus a control run with fixed parameters, and then averaged out and combined into one solution. That is what this is showing right here. So this is the 50th percentile. So half of what the 25 models show and half of what the other 25 show averaged out. That's how ensembles work, how they're used. And it shows right around the same, maybe a little higher for some of the South Sound right now in the current 18Z European ensemble run. for Tuesday night and afternoon by the looks of it. Now let's go look at pressure on here. Definitely a trend west since last night's runs. This was the one I showed last night. Last night's 18Z. Look at how far northwest it shifted it away from us. That's why the wind confidence, the forecast in the confidence in the wind forecast is decreasing as time goes on. It's shifting the average position of this low pressure farther to the northwest than it was before. Around the same pressure, but farther northwest away from the coast and the Puget Sound area. And then this is that little impulse coming through, that little frontal system. You can't quite see it well on the ensemble because of its resolution, but it's somewhere around here following the markers, where you can see the little indents on the these are called isobars. These are areas of equal pressure. So where you see those little dents downward right here, that's likely going to be your frontal system coming in. Yeah, that looks about right. Let's see what the AI model wants to show. Let's go to last night's AI run for around the same time. And then let's compare it to today's run. Yeah, it's stronger, but again, farther northwest. And it really doesn't have any impactful systems within like 100 miles of the coast. So again, this is why confidence continues to decrease with the wind forecast. Like confidence decreases in an impactful wind forecast, but increases for a non-impactful wind forecast. That's what I'm trying to say this time around. Let me just make sure, because I just noticed something. My YouTube chat might have froze again. So hang on. I'm going to try to refresh you guys. Might have missed out on a few things, so sorry about that, guys. Trying to get you back. I just noticed my timer froze at... My timer on YouTube froze about 10 minutes ago, so I might have missed your comments. I'm going to have to pull it up mobile for now. See what you guys are saying. So hang on, folks. Bear with me. Yeah, I missed a couple of comments, so my YouTube stream is frozen again. Let's go, YouTube. Okay, there we go. We're back on. So Doppler Dave says South Lake Whatcom gets extreme winds even in an advisory. Kim says team no wind. And Mark Skelton says they're saying a bit windy for BC coast for Wednesday a bit. Don't trust the long range model. Yeah, long range models are a toss up. I wouldn't trust them right now. We have to wait till we get closer in time. Usually within 2 days or less. Like, especially for this area. But the indications right now are trending less impactful coming up, which is good news. For those of you guys who want to hear less impactful, definitely great news coming up. Unfortunate that my YouTube stream froze again. See if refreshing fixes it. Yeah, it fixed it that time. Let's try popping that out one more time. I think we should have fixed that. Okay, yeah, we fixed it. Good. All right, we're fixed. Just checking my audio in the live stream. It's about 10 seconds behind or so. Okay, good. Everything sounds good. Perfect. Okay, crisis averted. Awesome. All right, folks. Well, unless anyone has anything else to chime in with, I'm going to wrap it up for the evening. Again, make sure to stay tuned to the Puget Sound Stormwatch blog on Facebook or on Patreon. Also, cross-posting my posts over to Blue Sky and X as well. This as a heads up as well. In case you guys missed it yesterday or the day before, I transitioned over to a full business account on X. So, no longer doing my personal profile. I'm doing a full Puget Sound Stormwatch profile here on X/Twitter. So that is at Puget Stormwatch, or just look up Puget Sound Stormwatch. I have the blue check mark. I've been making some posts about that, and I'm going to start sharing my Patreon links over there as well. So in case you guys are interested in checking out the blogs, I post those in real time. That would be the quickest way to check them out for the most up-to-date information. May actually get a break in the clouds tonight, too. So don't be surprised if behind these showers, once these showers move through, maybe you see the stars at times behind that. Keith says, good job. Thank you, Keith, for coming in and moderating as usual. Like Sonia says, good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I think that should safely conclude our coverage for today. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Again, doesn't look like a huge wind threat coming up. Not like before, at least. A pretty significant downtrend, which is good news. It makes me happy that I didn't post anything yesterday or the day before, because it was showing pretty big wind. But if you guys follow along as a patron on Patreon, if you sign up for the intro forecaster tier, I also have a 7-day free trial on that if you're interested. But if you're a subscriber on Facebook for 99 cents a month, I was updating you guys on the trends on those model runs for the wind. And so in case you guys are interested in also helping support Puget Sound Stormwatch in the long run to see more full-time live stream coverage like this, that would be one of the best ways to do so. As well as the best way, I'm going to mention it again, Ko-fi, ko-fi.com, pinned on YouTube and Facebook in the comments section. So yeah, let's refresh this one more time. We're up 2 more coffees, so thank you guys. 78 different supporters, 246 coffees donated in total. Appreciate all the kind words from you guys. This wouldn't be possible without you. And we also have, looks like we have 4 people donating on a monthly basis too. And one of you guys is donating 2 coffees a month. So that's $25 a month in monthly coffee donations too. That's another way you could sign up if you want to. But the cheapest way to help out, if you're on Facebook, is definitely going to be becoming a subscriber for only 99 cents a month. If we can get over 100 subscribers in the next week or so, that would be huge. I think we're at 94. If we can get 6 more of you guys to subscribe by the next week, then I think we'll be in great shape coming up this next month. Tuesday night wind speeds, again, not looking super impactful. If you're talking about Enumclaw and Buckley in particular, only going to see around wind speeds 10 to 20 out of the south, wind gusts 30 to 35. Not much more than that. That is the current indication. And geez, Doppler Dave just keeps on giving. Look at that. Another 5 gifted memberships before we hung things up. These Doppler Dave is really sharing the generosity today. Appreciate that. W Dave in the comments again on YouTube, including for Keith Capillero, the moderator. Welcome to the team, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Dave, for the 5 gifted memberships. That is awesome sauce. Dave in total has gifted 15. I believe these are tier 1 memberships. 15 tier 1 memberships. Big W for Dave. Yeah, welcome to all the new members. Also, did you know on Facebook, I believe on Facebook, you're able to gift subscriptions to people as well. It should be able, if you're a current subscriber, you should be able to gift 1 month subscriptions to people who may be interested in trying it out with a free trial. Yeah, I'll take all the help I can get, guys. You know, we had a busy month of December, but can we keep the ball rolling going into January too, even if the weather does slow down and we get the mega ridge to form over us? We may actually see clearing sooner than later across much of the area. But it's going to be short-lived because we do have some showers moving up through the Portland and Coast Range right now. So just a heads up for that. But we may get a little bit of a brief break in the clouds tonight in the next 2 hours or so. So if you guys want to see the stars, that would be your best chance coming up to go do some stargazing outside while it's dry. Yeah, again, huge shout out to Doppler Dave 211 on YouTube for his donation or his gifted memberships. He's gifted 15 tier 1 memberships. So thank you so much for that, Doppler Dave. Appreciate the generosity again. See if we have any other updates from Facebook that I may have missed. Nope, not by the looks of it. But yeah, thank you to what speed is less impactful? Are you asking which days are less impactful? If you're talking about the days, it's currently looking like for most of the area, Sunday is going to be less impactful. If that's what you mean. Or, not sure if I understand that question 100%. Yeah, again, this is for Sunday. Not looking majorly impactful, and then this is for Tuesday. No, actually, I had that backwards. Never mind. This is for Sunday. This is less impactful. This is for Tuesday going into Wednesday. This could bring some stronger winds over the water, but not much of this is going to work inland. The front's not going to be super strong. The area of low pressure moves way to the north, so the pressure rise is going to be minimal with this, regardless. Great weather streams. Love the channel. You have my dream job. Thank you, Doppler Dave, for the kind words. Mark says, I forget how to tell if I'm set to receive memberships. Yeah, we had this issue at first. I think it was Mama Miyamoto, I think, was trying to give away 20 memberships. And it never worked for the first day. So there were 20 gifted memberships just floating around, not going to anyone, but it charged out of her account. And then all of a sudden one day it just started randomly working. But there's a setting you supposedly have to enable on here, but no, I don't think anyone was able to find it. Yeah, like Sonia says, go into your YouTube settings. If I'm not mistaken, there should be a setting actually if you click on the stream somewhere and click under the gifted memberships. There should be a way to enable receiving gifted memberships. But again, I'm not 100% on that. The good thing is you only have to do it one time and that's it. But yeah, follow Sonia's advice. Or just search up on YouTube too. Search up on YouTube or Google. There's an article showing how to enable receiving gifted memberships. So just search up how to enable receiving gifted memberships. And you should find the answer to your question pretty easily. It seems like we're not having any problems with that anymore. So that's great news. They haven't had anyone bring up any issues about receiving gifted memberships. Yeah, like Keith says, it can change. Yes, it definitely can change. Looks like a breezy day possible for Thursday morning too, but nothing significant, not even close. It's maybe a little weak system moving through Thursday, but that's really about it. Nothing of significance coming up by the looks of it right now. But yeah, I think that covers pretty much all that we needed to cover. Look out for those cloud breaks coming up, South Sound and surrounding areas. But some areas, depending on how stagnant the air is down at the surface, if we're not getting much wind, we could have some fog form as well. Yeah, Keith, exactly. Nothing is set in stone. This is just a generalized idea. But we are within, I think we're within 36 hours now of some wind potentially, but it's not looking super impactful. So we have higher confidence now that we're within the 48-hour window. Anywhere really 36 to 48 hours, we see higher increasing confidence with the forecast. It's specifically within 24 hours. All right, folks, anything else, or will that do it for tonight? I'm going to take a melatonin and wind down. Try to get my sleep schedule back on track again. Again, appreciate the donations. Thank you for the gifted memberships. Like Doppler Dave says, until the next live stream. Kim says, thanks so much. Yeah, sure thing. Glad to be here to help. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you. Oh, yeah, also, thank you, Dave, for the super chat. Also, the $10 super chat. So appreciate that. The $10 super chat and the 15 gifted memberships. What a generous man you are. Yeah, it's been a little over 2.5 hours. We're definitely going to wind things down. For sure. No live stream tomorrow due to the Seahawks game. I'll look into maybe Sunday. We'll see. But I definitely want to watch Sunday Night Football, so I think Sunday may be out of the cards too. The next live stream, if we do one, would probably be Monday afternoon, around the same time. I'm going to shoot for a definitive time around 5 p.m. or so. So it should be all about cortisol reducers for sleeping. Keith is going to write a blog. Okay. I'll be on the lookout for those blogs, Keith. I'll make sure to look at your page, KDog Weather, with my personal account. So, all right, sounds like a plan, folks. I think that's going to wrap things up. Again, Anthony here, Puget Sound Stormwatch. And thank you all for the generosity. If you guys like this stream, like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell if you're on YouTube. And if you're a member, watch out for the next little heads up reel ahead of time before the next live stream. As long as we don't have to go into breaking live coverage anytime soon, you guys, as members and subscribers on Facebook, should have a live stream update several hours ahead of time if all goes as planned. So appreciate you guys again for tuning in and for sticking around. Have a great night, everyone, and stay safe.